Hey guys, my name is Mailbox, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Chris, and it is, since DICE added snow maps to the new DLC, it got me thinking. What are your thoughts on being rewarded with a delay on being spotted if you take the time to have your camo and gun camo to match the terrain on the map? Nothing drastic, just a slight delay. Now this is a pretty cool concept. Like the idea of being on a desert map, having desert camo not only on your soldier but also on your weapon, and having a benefit for doing that, like you thought ahead, you were prepared for this battle. Giving a reward for that type of playstyle, or using the environment to your advantage and kind of having that stealthy role is really cool. Like, I like that in theory. The problems we start to run into, though, is how would DICE go about designing or implementing this into the game? Because the only way that I can think that they would be able to handle something like this is that it would have to take your position into consideration, the environment around you, so they would have to have some sort of system in place that would recognize what color the environment is in relation to what camo you're using, but also would have to take your enemy's position into consideration, because depending on where they're looking, the color of the background related to you is going to change at different angles. So let's say, for example, you're on top of a hill. If someone is up above in a helicopter, you might be completely blended in, you know, it might be white on white, but if someone is directly below you on the base of the hill, when they look up at you, they're seeing a blue sky. So do you get the benefit of the camo at that point? Like, there's a lot that they would have to do to make it work correctly, and probably a lot of time investment as well. You know, I'm not a game designer by any means. That seems like that would take a fair amount of work to get that system to work correctly. The other way that they could approach it is that if you're on a snow map, no matter where you are, if you have a snow camo, you get the benefit no matter what. The problem with that system, though, is that while once again it still rewards players for being prepared for battle, if they're using the appropriate camo in the right situation, they are going to get that benefit. But if it's just a blanket, you're on a desert map and you're wearing a desert camo no matter where you are, even if you're in a building, you get that delay to your spot. Everyone is going to use those camos for those maps. Like, everyone's going to use the adaptive camo when they jump into really any server, because you're going to be at a disadvantage if you're not. And at that point, it's like, why even have a system like this in place? Because everyone's getting the benefit of having the snow camo, everyone's getting the delay in spotting, and it doesn't really add anything into the game. And so if they were able to add a system that dynamically changed depending on where you were located, the environment around you, and also with relation to where the enemy is located in relation to you, that could be incredible. Like, that could be a very interesting system, but the amount of time I would assume it would take for them to add something like that into Battlefield 4, while very cool in concept, I like the idea, I like where your head is going, I just don't know if the time investment is worth it, and I'd like them to maybe just focus on other features in the game. The next question for today comes from Joey, and it is, what are your thoughts on Battlefield 4's Final Stand expansion pack? I've been hearing a lot of dislikes and likes, and I want to know your opinion. Well, I am enjoying them. Like, some maps I do enjoy more than others, but my biggest problem with right now, and I think this is the issue that a lot of people are bringing up, is that a lot of them are just gigantic. The vibe that I'm getting from these maps is the Armored Kill DLC from Battlefield 3. A lot of people didn't like that expansion pack back then. Like, you know, sure, if you enjoyed vehicle-based combat, you're probably really going to enjoy Final Stand, and I do enjoy vehicle combat. Like, every once in a while, I'll get into a tank, I'll work with some buddies, and we'll have a good time. But I'm a player who enjoys the infantry gameplay. Like, if you look on my battle log, it's almost all infantry combat. Like, that's what I enjoy doing, that's the playstyle that I enjoy, and one of the things that I would really like DICE to try to do more often is have a DLC setup where they have one large map, basically any of the Final Stand maps, one very large map, two medium-sized map, and one small map. At that point, you cover pretty much your entire player base. You know, you got the people that want to have that large epic warfare in vehicles and things like that, they'll play on the large map. If you want to play, you know, infantry tight-knit combat, you'll play on the small map. And if you want something in between that basically all people are going to enjoy, like the people that really enjoy close quarter and tanks, they're all probably going to enjoy the two medium-sized maps. That seems like the best way to handle a DLC pack, at least in my opinion. And so I don't think that inherently the DLC DLC is bad. It just suits a different play style. It suits players that are gonna want that large-scale warfare. And for people who enjoy that type of combat, they're gonna love this expansion pack. But if you're more into the tight-knit type of gameplay, you might be a little disappointed. So I think that's pretty much the gist of the whole like and dislikes. The next question is, a lot of people are disappointed with Destiny and the amount of content that the game has. Is this the same experience that you've had with Destiny, and do you share these same issues? I'm gonna have to agree with these issues, because while I enjoy the hell out of Destiny, I love the PvP, like I'm terrible at the controller, but I still love the combat, because I think the framework that Bungie has established this game is top notch. Like, it feels polished, but the content that backs up that framework and backs up that polished gameplay it just isn't there. Like, what I assumed the endgame was going to be all about is that you would reach level 20 and then the entire endgame would open up in front of you. Brand new zones would open up, new strike missions that you've never done before, brand new bosses that you've never experienced, and those would be the endgame strike missions. All this great new content, you would start to accumulate your gear, and then that gear would allow you to do the raids. That is not what we've gotten at all. Like, you basically get to the end game and then you start doing just higher level or harder difficulty strikes that you've done all throughout the story missions. And while I found them to be enjoyable the first round, doing them over and over and over again gets a little repetitive at this point. And while I haven't participated in the end game raids yet, because that is going to be unlocked next week, so hopefully I'll have a better picture of what that's all about. If it's anything like it is right now with the current bosses, where they're just a bullet sponge, they have like 1 or 2 attacks and no real dynamic changes in how you approach it, it's probably going to be a little disappointing as well. I'm crossing my fingers that it's not. I'm crossing my fingers that there's going to be a lot more variety there. But I think that this is the reason why a lot of people are upset with Destiny, is because while there's an incredible amount of potential with this game, the framework is fantastic, the combat is amazing, the story and the repetitiveness and just the way that they've gone about the content, it just doesn't seem to fulfill the amount of promises that they were talking about throughout the marketing campaign, and I think that's what it really comes down to. The next question comes from Henrique, and it is, what do you think about adding a feature in Battlefield 4 elevators that would stop in the middle of the journey, manually activated, and then you could continue whenever you want? This would prevent C4 kills and campers waiting for you. Well, this is definitely one of the more unique suggestions that I've gotten for Sunday Mailbox, and while I'm right there with you on how annoying it can get, like if you're in an elevator, you get up to the top, getting killed by someone who's just sitting there with their C4, and it's basically a free kill for them. Like, they really have to royally screw up to not get a kill. Giving them that amount of power, or really just that security in getting those free kills, sucks. Like, it's not enjoyable. It's not for anyone that's really participating. I wouldn't even really say it's all that fun for the person who's sitting there. Like, they just camp there all game long. I mean, maybe if they enjoy just seeing numbers pop on their screen and having like a little random number generator, cool. Props to them for having that type of enjoyment. But for most players, it just seems like a bad game design. And so your suggestion, I guess, could be one way that DICE could go about it, but I think what it really comes down to is that they should just have multiple routes to get up to a rooftop. Like, if you only have one way to get up to a roof, of course they're gonna camp that. Of course they're gonna play C4 down on that one location, because why the hell wouldn't they? Like, if they know that the only way to get up there is through that one route, they're gonna do whatever they can to secure it so that they're not gonna get flanked, and they're gonna be able to easily take you out when you do try to take them, or do try to get up there. So I think the best way to handle it is to have maybe 2 elevators. Maybe have them face different directions, maybe have them on different sides of the rooftop, so they have to maybe run to one side or the other, and if you work with your buddies, you can come up at the same time and then kind of hit them at different angles. That would be one way. Or maybe just have multiple ladders getting up to the rooftops as well. There's a lot of different ways. There's myriads of different ways that DICE could approach this and improve the system, because right now, sucks. I mean, sure, you could argue that there already are maps, like on Siege of Shanghai, for example, there are multiple ways to get on top of the siege tower, and you still run into this problem, but even still, I think that it could be improved, and while I think yours is an interesting one, I'm not 100% sure that is the best way to go about it. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Twitter and Facebook message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.